So, if you've been learning English for any length of time, I bet you know this feeling. That first rush of progress, where every day you learn something new, that's gone. Now you can have conversations, you can understand a lot, but you just feel stuck. It feels like no matter how many grammar rules you study, you're not actually getting any better. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, what the real path forward looks like.
And look, this feeling, it's not just in your head. It is a real, totally predictable stage in learning pretty much any complex skill. I love this quote from Bruce Lee because he gets it exactly right. It's not a limit. It's not a wall you can't get past. It's a plateau. A long, flat stretch that you have to learn how to cross. And for us language learners, this experience is so common that it actually has a name. Okay, so let's dive into what this wall actually is. Just understanding what's happening and knowing that it's a completely normal part of the process, that's honestly the first and most important step to getting past it. This isn't a sign that you're failing. It's actually a sign that you've already made a ton of progress. Well, this is what people call the intermediate plateau. See, when you're a beginner, everything is new. Learning hello and thank you feels like a huge leap forward. But once you hit the intermediate stage, you have enough English to get by. You can communicate your basic needs, and that comfort zone is actually what slows you down. The urgency to push forward just isn't there anymore, and progress becomes almost invisible from one day to the next. So does any of this sound a little too familiar? That gap between what you can understand and what you can actually say is a classic sign. You can watch a whole movie but then struggle to describe the plot. You might also notice you keep making the same old mistakes. We call these fossilized errors, like using the wrong preposition over and over. You just end up using simple words and simple grammar because it's easy and it's safe. And pretty soon, that fire you had for learning just starts to feel like a chore. And this is really the core of the issue. The very study methods that got you to this intermediate level are often the exact things that stop you from moving past it. The problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough. It's that you're using the wrong tools for this new phase of your journey. Yeah, this is the trap, right? We've all fallen into it. We think, my English isn't improving, so I must need to study more grammar. But in reality, focusing too much on rules actually makes you hesitate more when you speak, because you're busy trying to remember the rule instead of just communicating. The same goes for memorizing long lists of words. Without a story or a context attached, your brain just doesn't know where to file them and they disappear. And don't even get me started on the idea of perfection. Chasing perfection just leads to a fear of making mistakes. And that fear is what stops you from getting the practice you actually need. You know, someone online put it perfectly. This quote just nails the disconnect between classroom English and real-world English. The goal isn't to sound like you're reading from a textbook. The goal is to connect with real people. And real people use slang, they speak informally, and their sentences are way messier than what you'd find in a grammar book. Okay, so if studying harder isn't the answer, then what is? Well, it really comes down to a huge shift in your mindset. You have to move away from actively studying the language and start passively acquiring it through tons and tons of exposure. This really boils down to a concept from a linguist named Stephen Krashen. The big idea is called comprehensible input, and it's simple, really. We acquire language when we understand messages. Think about it. Your brain is this incredible pattern recognition machine. When you feed it enough language that it can mostly understand, it starts to figure out the rules all by itself. It's exactly how you learned your first language as a child, not through grammar tables, but by listening. So what does that look like in practice? what's the sweet spot for this comprehensible input? Well, a lot of research points to this number, about 95%. When you're reading a book or listening to a podcast where you already know about 95 to 98% of the words, your brain can naturally and kind of painlessly figure out the meaning of the last few percent from the context. That's how you learn new words in a way that actually sticks. And the great thing is, you absolutely don't need to move to an English-speaking country to do this. You can create your own immersion environment right at home. The key is to find ways to make English the default, the easy choice in your everyday life. We're not talking about finding extra time to study. We're talking about changing the language of the things you're already doing anyway. Okay, so creating that immersion bubble is the foundation. It's the big picture. Now, on top of that, let's talk about two specific, powerful habits that take all that passive listening and help turn it into an active skill. The first one is something called the shadowing technique. And seriously, this is a game changer. It was actually first developed to train professional interpreters. It's not about understanding, it's a physical exercise. You are literally training the muscles in your mouth, your tongue, your jaw to make the sounds and rhythm of natural English. You're building muscle memory for the language itself. And it might sound intimidating, but when you break it down, it's really manageable. You start small, like with just 15 seconds of audio from a TV show or a podcast. Listen to it once. Then read the transcript while you listen again. Then try to speak along with it. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is just to try and copy the music of the language. Doing this for even 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a massive difference in your pronunciation and your confidence. The second big habit is all about how you listen. Because, not all listening is created equal. You need a balanced diet of both of these styles. Intensive listening is like your workout at the gym. It's focused, you're analyzing things like when you're shadowing. But extensive listening, that's like going for a long, relaxing walk. You're just listening to a podcast or an audiobook for fun, for the main idea. You need the focused workout, but you also need the relaxing, long-term exposure. Both are crucial. All right, finally, let's talk about mindset. Because all the techniques in the world won't help if your head's not in the right place. Getting through this plateau isn't just about what you do. It's about changing your expectations and accepting some truths that might be a little uncomfortable at first, but are ultimately incredibly freeing. So let me ask you this. What does fluency actually mean to you? For a lot of us, we have this image in our heads of speaking perfectly, never making a mistake, having no accent at all. But that's a complete myth. And chasing that myth is one of the biggest reasons people get discouraged and give up. And this is where we have to be really honest with ourselves. At this stage, progress is slow. It's often invisible for weeks or months at a time. And your accent, it's not a mistake. It's a part of who you are, a sign of where you come from. And guess what? You will make mistakes in English forever, just like you still make mistakes in your native language sometimes. The moment you let go of perfection and realize that fluency is just about connecting with another human being, everything changes. There's a great way to think about this from the polyglot Steve Kaufman. He says not to think of the plateau as being stuck, but as being in language maintenance mode. I love that. It's a time of quiet consolidation. Your brain is busy organizing all the information you've been giving it. Every single conversation, every podcast you listen to, it's adding a tiny little brick to your foundation, even when you can't feel it. And really, maybe that's the most important thing to remember here. Learning a language isn't a race with some imaginary finish line called fluency. It's a journey. It's a lifelong process. The plateau isn't a wall. It's just part of the landscape. So try to embrace the process, find some joy in it, and just continue.